Denis Villeneuve has proven his ability to create immersive worlds and unforgettable images many times over. But with Dune Part Two, he pushed himself to new heights.
Be simple. Nothing fancy.
Nothing fancy.
How did Villeneuve and his team make the film a reality?
Maybe I'll show you the way.
This is how they shot it. Dune Part Two. Before we take a ride into the filmmaking of Dune, make sure to hit that subscribe button on StudioBinder and ring the bell for notifications. In this episode, we'll be using StudioBinder's shot list to look at some of the technical choices the filmmakers made from shot to shot. We will be spoiling elements of Dune Part 2. Now, time for our lesson.
Now that's interesting, because in the film books I've studied... Never mind. Please keep going.
Dune Part 2 is a continuation of Denis Villeneuve's adaptation of Frank Herbert's seminal sci-fi novel, Dune. The first installment, released in 2021, was met with critical acclaim and left audiences eagerly anticipating the next chapter.
This is only the beginning.
For Part 2, Villeneuve and his team decided to make even bolder cinematic choices. The first component of this tremendous cinematic feat is cinematography. In deciding how to visually articulate the broader scope of Part 2, cinematographer Greg Fraser began with a question. Do we continue with the same format as Dune Part 1? Do we stay with digital or do we go to film? Do we shoot 16mm? It's a bigger world that we're building in Part 2. There are more planets, more set pieces, and more action. Dune Part 1 was shot on the Arri Alexa LF IMAX and the Arri Alexa Mini LF IMAX. Fraser ultimately decided to proceed with the use of Alexas, retaining stylistic consistency with the film's predecessor, even as the narrative canvas expanded. He explains, "We decided to keep the fundamental through line of large sensor Alexa cameras, but to combine Alexa 65 with Alexa Mini LF and shoot the whole thing spherical." In Part 1, Fraser used the differences between spherical and anamorphic lenses to separate the worlds of the story. Fraser says, "In Part 1, we used anamorphic lenses for a lot of the scenes not based on Arrakis. The reason for that was because we wanted a simple delineation between Paul's life before Arrakis and Paul's life after, once he's in the desert. In Part 2, we'd moved on from that part of Paul's journey, so we decided to only shoot on spherical lenses." In collaboration with Arri Rental, Fraser sifted through the annals of cinematic history to select a distinctive array of lenses. He opted for rehoused 1980s movie cams, blending the classic with the modern, and rehoused Soviet-era glass from iron glass to inject each frame with texture and character. The creative process didn't stop there. Fraser wanted to counterbalance the pristine clarity offered by the Alexa sensor's larger formats. He looked to infuse the film's visuals with a certain rawness and texture that would make the otherworldly landscapes of Dune feel more tangible. To do this, Fraser explored the bounds of optics with Arri Rental's Christoph Hofsten tuning and detuning lenses. This involves adjusting the lens's optical properties to create specific visual effects or characteristics. This includes modifying physical lenses, elements, or coatings to alter sharpness, contrast, color rendition, and bokeh. Fraser notes, "Texturizing the image was the name of the game. The larger Alexa sensors are so extraordinary that I felt we needed to dirty the image up a bit. The lenses had a longer focal length, which compressed space. A telescopic effect allowed the audience to peer into a scene from a distance. This effect of longer lenses lent itself to the suspenseful tone of Part Two's story. Fraser explains, "Those lens choices help add to that feeling of suspicion. That feeling is exactly the intent."
Do you believe me?
Perhaps the most innovative technique in the cinematography was Fraser's use of infrared cinematography during the gladiator sequence. Our introduction to the ghoulish Fade Rotha also gives us an expanded look at Giddy Prime. Fraser explains,
The danger really was that Giddy Prime in the daytime was going to look like Arrakis. And so Denis was like, well, why don't we do this in black and white?
Villeneuve explains,
Giddy Prime is a plastic world, an artificial world cut from nature. And I thought that this idea to subtract color from their world will say something about their way of thinking. And I came with this idea that the sunlight will be monochromatic, black and white. Greg Fraser, of course, loved the idea, and he brought himself the idea of infrared cameras.
I remembered some techniques that I'd been using for a few years. I realized that these cameras actually record infrared. And I said to Denis, well, listen, if we're thinking about black and white, why don't we consider this technique? And I did a little test and showed him, and he was like, that's it.
To accomplish this, Fraser and his team embarked on modifying the Alexa cameras. The standard IR filters, which typically block infrared light, were removed. In their place, a specialized filter was installed directly in front of the lens. This unique setup allowed the camera to block almost all visible light and capture only the infrared spectrum. This innovative approach was further enhanced through the use of Alexa monochrome cameras, which are natively sensitive to the infrared spectrum.
Happy birthday, dear nephew.
It wasn't just the masterful use of lenses and infrared technology that brought the majestic universe of Dune to life. Behind every frame, meticulously constructed and thoughtfully designed worlds enveloped us, a testament to the film's production design. Under visionary production designer Patrice Vermette, the film aimed to decipher and adapt Frank Herbert's original writing of Dune's world. Vermette explains,
in the text, the words in the book, they're not very descriptive, they're very broad, but it's a feeling. And obviously I went back to the book and I tried to decipher what the little cues that Frank Herbert would have left that would describe the world in details.
These locations spanned across the globe. The stark, unforgiving terrain of Arrakis was built primarily in the desolate beauty of Jordan's Wadi Rum and the sprawling dunes of Abu Dhabi.
Dune is about the relationship of human with nature. It is important for me to bring that nature to the screen, that the audience will believe it. We shot in Abu Dhabi because what we accomplished there would have been absolutely impossible to do somewhere else.
While many scenes were shot on location, various scenes were shot on the sound stages and backlots of Origo Film Studios in Budapest. These included battles on Arrakis and the gladiator scene of Giddy Prime. Vermette says when designing each facet of Dune's world, he places himself in the position of the architect. This is shown by his influences, specifically in brutalism. In the design of Arrakeen, the environment demanded architecture that could withstand extreme conditions. The building's thick rock walls and angular imposing forms are hallmarks of brutalist architecture, serving both a practical purpose and a visual metaphor for the resilience and fortitude of the planet's inhabitants.
They do not usually venture this deep.
I want to make sure no Atreides escaped.
You think too much of yourself. No, we are in the deep desert. Only Fremen can survive here. They were here for us, not for you.
For Giddy Prime, brutalism also inspired the design to reflect the Harkonnen's militaristic and oppressive nature. However, Vermette also drew inspiration from an unexpected source: septic tanks encountered in Montreal. Vermette's exploration of brutalist architecture also found resonance at the Brion Cemetery in Italy, designed by Carlo Scarpa. Vermette notes, "Carlo Scarpa is a huge inspiration, not only for Dune, but for me personally. We were looking for a site for the Imperial Planet and for a garden. I showed Denis images and he said this is exactly the language of our film," which of course it was, because my inspiration for the film was Scarpa. Vermette meticulously crafted every design element to resonate with the rich history and culture embedded within the narrative. These worlds were further augmented by the film's approach to special and visual effects. As a film of monumental scale, special and visual effects played an integral role in bringing Dune to life. Part 2 pushed the boundaries of its visuals through its ambitious innovation in practical effects. One of the standout scenes of the film is Paul Atreides riding a sandworm. The scene itself would require a completely separate unit, shooting for nearly 40 days. As Paul leaps to catch the sandworm, he falls down a river of sand. To achieve this practically, the stunt team orchestrated the collapse of an actual sand dune with a specially made rig. This involved an entire dune built on top of 3 giant cylinders. Each was hooked up to separate trucks that could pull the cylinders at precise times.
And the idea was to have, at the perfect timing, we had to pull those tubes under the sand dune in order to the sand dune to collapse.
Villeneuve wanted to make Paul's struggle to ride the sandworm as realistic as possible. He collaborated with production designer Patrice Vermette and special effects coordinator Gerd Nefzer to engineer a practical solution.
I asked my production designer to create a gigantic platform. A reproduction, we tried to build the biggest platform possible with the sandworm skin. This platform will be on a gimbal. It's a machine that allows us to move the platform in one way or the other. The platform can modulate like that at different speed.
The level of commitment to practical effects led Villeneuve and his team to create one of the most memorable scenes in modern cinema.
And that scene surfing the sandworms is one of the greatest things I have ever seen. Ever.
While Villeneuve was committed to utilizing practical elements whenever possible, visual effects supervisor Paul Lambert was equally committed to ensuring the VFX was also grounded in reality. With the help of VFX Studio Double Negative, Lambert and his team sought to breathe life into the vast, arid landscapes of Arrakis. To do this, they employed a VFX technique also used in Dune Part One: sand screens. Sand screens are a pioneering approach that deviated from the traditional reliance on blue screens or green screens, where unwanted hues can reflect onto subjects and the set. Sand screens are VFX screens with a carefully chosen sand color to bounce light realistically. Because the sand color was not as distinct as the usual blue or green, the team formulated a sand color hue that, once inverted, effectively separated subjects from the background, similar to traditional screens. This solution allowed the visual effects team to integrate the live-action footage with digital elements in a way that preserved the integrity of the scene. Lambert found further ways to advance the VFX in the film, most notably with the Fremen's blue eyes, leveraging insights from the first film's eye effects. The VFX team developed a machine learning model trained on Dune footage to precisely identify and segment human eyes. This model facilitated the use of a multi-part matte technique to achieve the iconic blue eye effect. Even when Villeneuve couldn't keep the special effects practical, every component of VFX and CGI was grounded in the reality of the world of Dune. Denis and his team swung for the fences with bold decisions in every aspect of the film. From innovative cinematography techniques to expansive yet detailed production design and jaw-dropping special effects. Groundbreaking filmmaking cannot be achieved without thorough preparation.
Once the screenplay is done, I will storyboard most of the movie, if not the entire movie, and it's a new way to rewrite and to approach, bring the words closer to the camera. And I then, once the storyboard are finished, I rewrite the screenplay again from the storyboards, because there's a lot of changes that will be found through the storyboards.
On your next project, prep every aspect of your film using StudioBinder's library of filmmaking software, which can help with everything from shot listing to scheduling. Click the link in the description to get started. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more videos on everything filmmaking, and click the bell to receive notifications. Thanks for watching. Surf's up, dude.